Welcome. This is a video for the Semantics module of Linguistics 101. In this video, we're going to discuss 4 new relations between words: homophones, homographs, homonyms, and polysemy. We'll discuss the difference in definitions as well as some tests you can use to distinguish them in practice. At the end of this video, you will be able to identify pairs of items as homophones, homographs, homonyms, or meanings of a polysemous word. So we'll start with homophones. You've probably encountered these before. 2 words are homophonous if they are pronounced the same. For example, the bough of a tree, the branch of a tree, bough, and bow bending at the waist, that gesture are pronounced the same. Notice that the meanings are completely unrelated. This is going to become important in a minute. To remember the term, just remember that homo means same and phone means sound. So a homophone is something that sounds the same. Second, we have homographs. Now, knowing that graphics are visual things, you might guess that homographs are words that look the same when they're written. That is, they're spelled the same. So that bow, bending at the waist, and bow, as in bow tie, are homographs. They're spelled the same. Might be pronounced differently. And again, the meanings are completely unrelated. Third, we have homonyms. Now, the nym, N-Y-M part of homonym means name. So 2 words are homonyms if they have the same name in both senses, phonetic and graphic. That is, if they are pronounced and written the same. So homonyms are both homographs and homophones. So an example here is bank, as in the bank of a river, and bank as in a financial institution. Again, the meanings are unrelated. So we have these 3 fairly easy to distinguish terms relating words that are similar in one way or another, or both, but have unrelated meanings. What if the meanings are related? Well, that's polysemy. Polysemy is where a single word has multiple related meanings. It's polysemous. It has poly, many, semantics, right? So, for example, the word hard can mean physical firmness, as in a hard surface, or intellectual difficulty, as in a hard problem. So, straightforward enough as a definition, but how can we reliably distinguish between one word that has different meanings, polysemy, and multiple words that happen to be pronounced or spelled the same, homophony or homography? Well, the key, I've been kind of signaling already, is whether the meanings are related or how related are the meanings. In the above examples, it's pretty straightforward to identify the metaphorical connection between physical hardness and intellectual hardness. Both indicate something that can't be changed or affected easily, say. On the other hand, you'd have to work really hard to find a connection between a riverbank and a financial bank. Now, human imagination being what it is, you could probably succeed. You could find some way of connecting the two. But that's not what we're after here. That's not the test. The test isn't, is there some way that you can connect them? The test is there an obvious connection sort of flashing in your brain as soon as you see those 2 meanings? There are some other things that can signal the distinction or be reflected by the distinction, and these are all indirectly connected to the main difference, which is how similar are the meanings. So, for example, if a language gets 2 words from different sources, borrows them from different languages, they're likely to be homophonous, not one word with polysemous meanings. So, for example, English acquired the river sense of bank from early Scandinavian, but it acquired the financial sense of bank from Middle French. So they came from 2 different places and have continued to be used in different senses. So if you have access to the etymology of 2 forms, that may help you determine whether they're meanings of a polysemous word or homophones, homographs, right? Similarly, if you look in a dictionary, you will typically find polysemous meanings under the same entry. One entry of hard will list the different senses, physical and intellectual. Homophones and homographs will generally be listed as under separate entries. So my Oxford Canadian Dictionary here does have separate entries for those different meanings of bank, but only one entry for hard with sort of numbered sub uses. Another check is to see in what ways the forms are similar. We know that if they're from a polysemous word, then they're different uses of a single word. So they should be spelled the same and they should be pronounced the same. If they're spelled differently but pronounced the same, as in the tree bough and the greeting bow, then they must be homophones. If they're pronounced differently but spelled the same, as in the greeting bow and the tied bow, then they must be homographs. If they're both spelled the same and pronounced the same, well, then we have to fall back on other tests, because they might either be meanings of a polysemous word or homonyms, right? Separate words. So you're stuck with etymology or the similarity of meanings to determine what you actually have. So you've probably already guessed or are worrying, or you may already be worrying about the possibility, the difference between polysemy on the one hand and homonyms or other similarities on the other hand is one of degree. It's how similar are the meanings. So there's inevitably going to be a gray area between the two extremes. In this course and in this video, I'm hoping that I've given you some sense, some way of calibrating, here's some examples of very closely related meanings, here's some examples of very distantly related or unrelated meanings. I'll leave the gray area for you to frolic in your own time. Aren't I nice? Okay, in this video, we've looked at the concepts of homophony, homography, homonymy, and polysemy. You should be able to distinguish these four types of relationships and identify which of these labels applies to a given pair of forms. And in particular, articulate how to test for polysemy as opposed to those other relationships of similarity that we just discussed. So, one way to start exploring this on your own is find a dictionary, a physical dictionary or an online dictionary, and try to identify 3 examples of polysemy besides those identified in this video. And don't just rely on whether they're in the same entry or in separate entries. Dictionaries may do this differently, and to be frank, not all dictionaries are created equal, right? In terms of their intent and in terms of their quality. So apply that meaning test to see whether you can determine are these polysemous meanings. Right. Similarly, using a dictionary or other source, see if you can identify 3 examples of the other relationships identified here. Which are the easiest to find? Is it easier to find homophony, homography, or homonymy? Homonyms, homographs, or homophones? Why would that be, given the nature of your source? Why would it be easier to find one than the others? Alright, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.